Hey, look, it's us again. I don't know if people remember who we are, but I'm Pat and that's Tim. And this is the Gridiron Dynasty, a fantasy football podcast. Did I get that right? It's been a
Yeah,
while.
nailed it. Perfect.
Nailed it. Hashtag nailed it. Okay.
Episode number 812.
812. That's very generous. How about we go just episode 1 of season 2?
All right, makes sense.
We're at episode 201. So today we're going to go over the status of our league, key additions / subtraction from members of the league. We won't mention who won again because he doesn't need to be told that again. And then we're going to go over what we did with how the league is formatted, what's going on with the draft. Keepers are already selected and locked. Actually, that locked last night. So then we can go over who's left to take for this upcoming draft. So we'll start by saying we lost a member of the league, not by their choice, but by our choice, because he didn't do shit. So we replaced him with someone who is going to be a lot more active, and he's already made one trade. So he's already steps ahead of the previous person. And that trade he made was with me.
Also, that's not fair.
That trade he made was with me, so that's why I'm happy. So
You call that cheating.
How is that cheating?
Collusion.
It wasn't collusion. I offered him a very fair trade.
I was part of getting invited to the league is that he had to accept that trade. The rest of the stuff that he had to do, we don't talk about on the podcast. Where are we at here? It vanishes.
Well then, we're gonna go back to full screen now. All right, look at that. It's better now. You can see more of Tim and Pat.
You didn't want to do that.
I looked at the Streamlabs thinking that I'm looking at an audience. None of you people can see me. I should be looking at the camera. Hi, friends. So, what had happened was Sean was
not active.
Yes,
we can make this easy.
Right, and the whole point of having this league is so that we can talk about it while we're talking about other things. And if you have a player that's not active, it kind of makes that difficult. A little bit. So he was replaced.
Can't believe he came in last place after not showing up.
He did not come in last place.
No, he definitely came in last place. So
I'm pretty sure.
He had to come in last place.
One of the two of us finished in last place, Patrick. And there I go again.
Well, it's convenient that you're Patrick, so.
No,
you're very out of focus.
Patrick.
By the way,
I am very out of focus now. That's
because you're not the main character, and that's all you need.
Apparently, I don't have main character energy. My hand's in focus, though. Oh, you can see my hand. Who
no
does palm
main
readings?
character
Can you
energy.
tell me what these lines mean? Whatever. I'm at. Oh, there we go. Hey. So yeah. So my friend from high school, Dan, took over the spot. Dan's very active. He's in another Dynasty League himself, I believe, at least one. He's very interested in joining us for an episode of the podcast as well. I tried to get him on for tonight's episode, but there was a scheduling conflict with a podcast that he does himself, actually. So hopefully he'll be on when we do our draft, which is actually in 2 weeks from yesterday. Correct. So 13 days. So what happened was we decided to only keep your starting lineup. Now, it doesn't mean your actual starting lineup. That means the position by position is what you kept. So a lot of people are in the free agency pool / draft pool, which is good for league turnover. It's good for the start of the league to not have super teams going into year 2, although there are teams with more of an advantage over others depending on their position breakdown. For instance, I think my team is set up great for the future because of my wide receivers and running backs. However, my quarterbacks are weak. Then you got other teams like my brother's, who has Josh Allen and Deshaun Watson as his 2 quarterback keepers. So he's set up pretty good for the future when it comes to the quarterbacks, because we are a super flex league, and currently Deshaun Watson is only suspended for 6 games. I say currently because I expect that to go up. And it should go up. It should go up to indefinite. However, that's not going to happen because the NFL.
Oh, with the NFL, indefinite is 1 season. And then you have to put a petition for reinstatement. Right. That way it feels like they let you back in, even though they already knew they were letting you back in. Yes. It's like they're giving you a gift that they were already going to give you.
Agreed.
It's like ruining Santa Claus.
Right.
It was very real.
100%.
We respect all our YouTube followers, even the children.
Yeah.
Do we have any of those? Anywho.
So, we're just going to now go over our 2 teams, who we kept for our teams and what decision making processes went behind who we kept. I'll let you go first, Pat, if you would like to.
Well, my process was very simple. Basically, I kept the only people who were worth keeping, and I know that sounds weird, but basically, what I did towards the end of the year was ditch the fluff, move a couple of draft picks around, and get a starting lineup. So at the end of the year, I added in a couple of extra. DeAndre Hopkins added in. I swapped out Kamara for Derrick Henry and gained an extra pick in there. So I basically made sure that I had a starting lineup to keep, knowing full well that we were going to have a full draft, that I was going to be drafting first and often early, which does help in a Superflex league with a lot of people sitting on waiver wires. So as far as my keepers are concerned, there definitely needs to be some help in the running back department. I have Derrick Henry, which sounds great, but Derrick Henry missed a couple of games. Not huge games, but they're the games at the end of the season when you're playing in the fantasy playoffs that you don't want to miss.
You weren't in the playoffs, though.
As those of us who remember last year, at the very beginning of the year, when I traded Derrick Henry away for Deebo Samuel with the exact opinion that he was going to miss games at the end of the year. And then they both missed games at the end of the year, which was useless. But that's not the point. I came in second in that league. But there's a reason that I did that. And there's a reason that people make moves like that. The person I traded Kamara away to was in a position to make a run at the finals. And I think Derrick Henry, if he can stay on the field, gets the ball more often with the Saints team that will spread it around. So that was my opinion on that. My only other running back is Kareem Hunt, who is okay. He's a solid RB2 when he's not getting in his own head about a contract dispute.
Yes.
So there is definitely need for running back assistance. My wide receivers, A.J. Brown moving over to Philly. I think that's a big bump for him. I think they're going to have a lot more balls thrown his way than they did in Tennessee. I don't know if everything is everything, but I think it helps him out a lot. Michael Thomas should be back at full health. That would be nice. Michael Williams needs to stay on the field. And DeAndre Hopkins is not going to be on the field at the start of the season, which actually may not be such a bad thing. And the reason I say that is, once again, there's a lot of early picks. So if I can get a wide receiver who's going to play, putting DeAndre Hopkins, who has now rested for 8 straight weeks, into a starting lineup might help out.
6.
Is it 6? I thought it was 8 for the PED suspension.
6.
I thought it was 8 for PED. I thought, okay. Whatever. Hey, that's even better for me. Sweet. Only 6 weeks of rest. Even God rested on the 7th, but DeAndre Hopkins will play. And then you have my quarterbacks, which are Justin Fields, who I held over, and Derek Carr, who I made a move, ditched away my 2nd-round pick, and dropped back a couple rounds in the draft to pick up Derek Carr. He was going to be dropped by the team that he was on, and this is a super flex league, so I figured it made more sense to keep him than Davis Mills, who I then dropped after acquiring Derek Carr. And then my tight end is Pat Freiermuth, but we'll see what Pittsburgh does. Who the hell knows? It's okay. He's a tight end. He plays the position. There's only 10 of them that matter in the NFL, so we'll see what happens.
Correct. Yeah, so like Pat said, he didn't really have a ton of options to do, and he made the smart move and went after a team who was going to get rid of someone that could be valuable for his team. I was in the other position where I had too many players that I wanted to keep but couldn't, so I got value out of the ones that I could. I traded away my 1st-round pick during the season to acquire Deebo Samuel. So that helped me get into the playoffs. It did not help me once I got into the playoffs because, like Pat said, Deebo was a little banged up, a little nicked up. The rest of my team was a little banged up, a little nicked up. It's fine. It happens. So the first trade that I made was I took Miles Sanders and a 4th-round pick and flipped it for the 201 in this draft. The person that took Miles Sanders from me Their running back situation was very bad. They had Austin Eckler and Chris Carson and Zach Moss. Those were the three running backs on their roster at the time. And this is after Chris Carson had already retired, so the person had to go into the season with Austin Eckler and Zach Moss as their RB1 and RB2. So they made the decision that it would be smarter for them to have Miles Sanders over Zach Moss, and I would completely agree. I don't think Miles Sanders would have got to that pick at the 201. He might have, he might not have, but the guy didn't take the gamble and he took the pick. He took Miles Sanders, and I got the pick. So because of that, I took the 205 that I got earlier in the year in another trade, because trades are fun. I took that, Deebo Samuel, Antonio Gibson, and Gabe Davis, and trade that all for Justin Jefferson and a 5th-round pick. Now, I know a lot of you are saying, hey, Tim, that's a lot. Not in this league, it's not. I traded away Deebo Samuel, and I improved on Deebo Samuel by getting Justin Jefferson. I think anyone can agree with me on that Justin Jefferson is either wide receiver 1 or 2 in Dynasty rankings. So I took Justin Jefferson. I gave Deebo Samuel. I was going to keep Antonio Gibson, but I had other players I could keep instead, so that's fine. I was not going to keep Gabe Davis, and the 205 was more of a luxury pick at that time because I had the 201. So that was my thought process behind it. So then I wound up keeping my QB1's Aaron Rodgers because it's Aaron Rodgers. He's still going to be a top 10 quarterback, top 12 quarterback in fantasy by the end of the year, regardless of his receivers. Running backs, CMC, my 1st-round pick, who played like 4 games for me last year. Joe Mixon, my RB2, Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb. Name a better wide receiver group in this league. You can't. Darren Waller, tight end, Elijah Moore as my flex, and then the MILF Hunter himself, Zach Wilson, is my super flex quarterback. I figured he has a lot of upside this year with what the Jets did this offseason. They built around him better, so he should theoretically be able to take the step up. And as a 2 QB league, I should keep 2 quarterbacks rather than a position player, which I can get in the draft. Any comments, Patrick?
No. It's going to be interesting to see how Deebo does with new QB at the helm.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons why I wanted to move on from Deebo, too.
It's an on-the-fence kind of thing. When he played, he looked for Deebo, which is important because if you're going to take Deebo in a trade, you might as well know that the quarterback that's about to step in there has been looking for him. You have to know that Justin Jefferson is the solid floor over almost every other wide receiver that you can look at. Cooper Kupp, who's also on your team, would probably be the only person you could look at and go has a more solid floor.
And you heard what Justin Jefferson said, right? About because you guys have the Vikings hired the offensive coordinator from the Rams, correct, as their head coach, and he said now he understands why Cooper Kupp was open as much as he was, and that he loves this offensive scheme. So Justin Jefferson already was a top 5 wide receiver, and now he's in the same offensive scheme that utilized Cooper Kupp to the tune of a historic fantasy season. And the offenses aren't that much different from each other when you look at the pieces in Minnesota and LA. You have a solid wide receiver 1 in Cooper Kupp, followed by a solid wide receiver last year. It was Bobby Trees or Odell Beckham. And now they got Allen Robinson and Adam Thielen in Minnesota. You could say they have more of a threat on the ground because of Dalvin Cook. So I love Justin Jefferson. He's my dynasty wide receiver 1. It's him, then it's Cooper Kupp, and then an argument can be made for the next people on the list. Probably Jamar Chase would be 3. CeeDee Lamb's in there somewhere, but yeah, it was a no-brainer for me on that one.
I think there's a lot of disrespect to Deebo Samuel.
There's a lot of unknown though because of Trey Lance.
I do think he is still not at his peak, and I will say that only because he can't stay on the field. If you could see him on the field for a full season, but that's kind of the way you got to play the game. That's like putting CMC as running back number 1 forever. You can't do that anymore. He hasn't been on the field for 2 straight seasons. It's time to dethrone CMC, despite the probable upside, because of what you're experiencing on the field. You have to play. In fantasy football, you have to play. And that's that simple. If you're not on the field, you cannot be a top 12 running back. That's a fun face. I like faces.
Did you just make a trade in the middle of our podcast?
Oh, did Alex accept that in the middle of our podcast?
Yes, he did.
Then I made a trade in the middle of our
You do
podcast.
realize now that I have to reset the mock that
That's
we're
okay.
doing.
Reset. I
Well,
did not
people have
want
to.
1-1.
Well,
And
people
here we
now
are.
have
So
to vote. People
let's
have to
talk
vote
about
on
it.
it. So,
That's fine.
all right, I'm
Let's
gonna
talk
put.
about it.
You keep talking. I put a poll.
So the consensus 1-1 is Brees Hall. I think that no matter what type of league you're in, if you're in a dynasty league, if you're in a keeper league, if you're in a league where you already have a set roster, Brees Hall is your number one. He is the top ranked prospect coming out of college. He is getting all the hype. He's getting all the talk, and he is your consensus number one. So if you don't want that consensus number one, look for something that's going to get you more value, because that's what you need to do. I have the 6th pick in the first round still. I'm okay with dropping back to there based off of what I'm looking at on the draft board. So what I did was I was picking first round, 4th round. Lots of gap in there for someone who needs to rebuild the whole roster, because that's kind of what we're doing here. And my roster isn't all that set in high quality information. I dropped my first round pick for 2 seconds and gave up my first and my 4th, I do believe, and picked up an early second and a mid second. Correct me if I'm wrong there. Should be.
It's a 203 and 207.
It should be 2-3 and 2-7, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
So the early second, mid second, and just drop back. And it's mid-range value in this league, I think, will mean something more than one player at the top of the draft board. And you had to know that one player at the top of the draft board, even being what he is, was going to command value. It's the same thing I'm looking to do in a different one of our dynasty leagues where I have the 1-1. And it's something I've been looking at doing in every league where I have that first pick.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it from you in one of the leagues.
I'm not so well. I also might have an offer on the table for 2 first-round picks for that pick. So you got a lot of competition to go up against.
You haven't texted me back.
Hence the reason I haven't texted you back. If the offer is what you sent me versus 2 first-round picks, I think I'm going to wait.
You could at least tell me, and I can up my offer, Patrick.
Well, here we are. I actually said I was going to discuss it on the podcast, so he'll be happy that I said that, because I did send him a message, so he can be involved in looking. Maybe we can get an extra view out of this. It's not important. Figure it out by the views.
It's probably Pat Cash.
So,
I don't think anyone else in the league would watch us.
That's probably fair.
Hi, Pat. Hi. I'm going to bogart your trade. I'm going to try to bogart your trade.
He's not.
I don't have first-round picks to offer. Can I trade future first-round picks in that league?
I don't know.
Because I'll trade all of them.
The wrong person.
I'll trade
Maybe
as
if he
many.
answers you can find out. But that's basically what I've been doing. I've been shopping the 1-1 pick in a lot of different leagues. And it really is a question of how much are you going to move up. I was going to offer a couple of different ones, but I thought gaining I looked over the draft board, and I thought gaining 2 second-round picks in this league based off of team needs in front of me and a straight draft made more sense than attempting to only move back a couple of picks in the first round and pick up. And again, that's because I only had a 4th-round pick after my first-round pick. So you can really only expect so much when you're only moving up a couple picks. If you're moving up an entire round and getting the top-ranked player in the draft, you're going to look for something extra. And it's a $5 league. Screw it.
Exactly. That was Sargenti's mentality with the trade with me for Miles Sanders. He's like, it's a $5 league. I could take more risks doing it. I'm like, yeah, sure. You know what? That's fine with me. Go right ahead.
As we discussed a little bit earlier, I'm going to call him my top wide receiver is out for 6 weeks. I don't have an RB2. So if you're looking at this and you're looking at the draft board and you're not sold on a player that's going to fall in your spot, move back. I think that's the lesson I wanted to put out there. I can't believe he accepted in the middle of our podcast. That was funny for me.
Yeah, seriously.
I did not offer it in the middle of the podcast. It was offered about 2 hours ago. But if you're not sold on a player, get what you can for it, because you know that player is going to fall in there. So if you're looking at your draft board and you know you see someone on your list and this is that person, and the guy you want is maybe 4 or 5 back behind that, and you know he's got a chance to fall to you, take the extra capital, take the extra opportunity. Don't take one guy and give up on the next 3 rounds of your draft.
Yeah, no, I completely get where you came from. I completely get where Alex came from. Alex was the playoff team last year, and he's getting Brees Hall.
And he keeps his first-round pick, which I think was big for him. I think that was – I didn't ask for a first-round pick. I wanted extra picks.
Right.
I wanted extra higher picks.
He literally
moving
just
up
texted
6
me.
spaces. Moving up 6 spaces, I didn't think was going to get the job done. But me moving up 2 rounds, I think, is going to help me out when it comes to building a foundation for a team in this league.
Yeah, it'll fill out your roster better. He literally texted me. He's like, "What do you think of it?" Pat sent it to me. I'm like, "Well, you'll find out when you watch this episode of the podcast." So, Alex, I think you made a great trade for yourself because now you have 2 first-round picks, including the one-on-one. So you get yourself Brees Hall, and then you could probably take yourself a nice little wide receiver later on. Maybe like a Treylon Burks will fall to you or something like that. And then giving up 2 second-round picks. You don't need to fill out your roster because your starting lineup's fine. Pat's starting lineup is, we just went over it, it's
train wreck.
Train wreck, some people will call it doo-doo.
It's got opportunity.
I've heard the phrase dumpster fire thrown around a couple times about it.
Oh, come on now. AJ Brown is going to find you because he watches this podcast, so he's very mad at you right now.
Listen, I love AJ Brown.
Too late.
No, hold on.
Wait, you called him a dumpster. It's too late, and Derrick Henry will tackle you in the open whenever he sees fit.
I will never badmouth Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry will never get badmouthed by me. But I am not on the same. I'm not. I think when AJ Brown got traded, I thought it was a little bit of a downturn on his stock, not an upturn.
And you gotta look at the Tennessee Titans run the football.
I agree,
and now they have a running quarterback.
But the Eagles had a better wide receiver that's what's already there.
Do they?
Devonta Smith's better than what they had in Tennessee.
Did you just say that Devonta Smith is better than Julio Jones?
How many games did Julio Jones play last year? So, yes, he was better than Julio Jones last year. That's not an erroneous thing to say or egregious thing to say.
How many games did A.J. Brown play last year?
Okay, that goes back to another problem with A.J. Brown. He's never been healthy fully either.
He's going to find you.
So that's fine. I hope
you
he
have
does
better
find
lighting.
I have things for him to sign. Wait, hold on. Wait a minute. No, I don't have things for him to sign.
Did you stack your helmets up on your bed?
Oh, no. These are the ones I'm just trying to get rid of.
And you stacked them up on your bed?
Oh, no, because they're on my desk. Those are all the ones that I keep. Yeah, no. So I have.
So they're stacked up on your bed.
I have an Eagles, A.J. Brown. That was originally a Titans helmet that a buddy of mine just swapped out the logos on, so now it's an Eagles helmet with blue wings instead of green because it was signed in blue. It would have looked weird with the Eagles logo. So
feels like cheating.
It's not. It's called customizing. It
feels like cheating. No,
whatever.
That feels like cheating.
Okay, I don't think we're gonna get enough people to vote on this trade, by the way. So what we'll do for the mock draft is,
we all know who the 1-1 is.
It's going to be Brees Hall. So you're just going to take Brees Hall like normal.
We're just going to take Brees Hall because we all know who the 1-1 is.
And then we'll keep doing the draft as normal until we get to the 203. Once the 203 is picked, I'll pause it. We'll remove the player. Then you say who you would pick here. We'll do that, blah, blah, blah. Then when we go to the 401, or what is it, the 408 that you gave up,
we're only doing the first 3, so we're good there.
We'll let the computer pick that one, too. And
yeah, that's fine.
So...
no problem.
Because what we're doing on this episode is we are doing a mock draft of we'll do all 7 rounds now because I think we should. It's not going to take that long. We don't need to analyze every single pick that we make, even though we will talk about every single pick that we make. But it shouldn't take that long. We're only 24 minutes into the episode, and we've had episodes go for up to 2 hours, just Pat and I talking to each other. Mainly Pat talking, me listening. But yes, Pat and I talking to each other. Am I wrong?
Calling AJ Brown right now.
What does AJ Brown have to do with you talking?
I just need someone to tackle you.
And you're going to have a wide receiver do it?
Yeah, well, Derrick Henry won't answer my phone calls after the thing I did the other time.
Doing it. You saw the tackle he got on Buda Baker.
Yeah, I know, but you trade Derrick Henry one time, he doesn't answer your phone calls anymore.
Yeah, because he's now
Bullshit.
talking to me, bud.
I traded for him in a different league, but he still won't talk to me.
Yo, who do
No
you think would win in a
respect.
fight between Derrick Henry and DK Metcalf?
Derrick Henry. I don't even need to ask.
Okay,
You don't need.
hold on.
Stop it.
I got,
Stop it.
I got a new
Stop
one.
it.
I got a better
Stop
one.
it.
I got a better one. Have you seen the size of AJ Dillon recently? That's a
Can we
big
just
boy.
have like a calf war, or like a thigh war?
Dude, he's got
Two of
thunder
them
quads.
just like. Can
My-
the two of them like
holy-
see who can squash a watermelon first? That's what I want to know.
One of the podcasts
I don't want. I don't
to
want to
call
fight.
him
I don't want to fight.
Quadzilla.
I want a watermelon in between their legs, and I want to see who can smash it first.
Have you seen those TikToks where the people like lay and then they do like the leg thing 1, 2, 3, and then they essentially do a thumb war with their legs? That's what I want to see. I want to see who will win that.
They would both flip over multiple times. It'd be
Yeah,
very scary.
that'd be epic. So what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna go to present now. Tab.
Are we going straight to the draft?
Yeah, might as well.
All right. Well, whatever.
All right. So here we have our beautiful draft board. As already discussed, Pat no longer will have the 101 unless this trade gets vetoed, which this league's weird. It might get vetoed. Who knows? Just so you know, Pat, people cannot see you right now during this part of the recording, so you can get naked if you'd like.
Well, that means I can get a drink, actually. Is what that means.
Yes. So go ahead and go get a drink. I'll wait for you to come back.
Even though I have pants on.
So. Oh, so how's everyone doing at home? You guys having fun? How's your off season been? You guys having a great off season? I've been having a pretty fantastic off season, if I do say so myself. Can I mess around with this already? No, I can't. Oh boy. If I click on it, can I click on that? Oh, okay. So, what is it, the 408? Oh. That's not how that works. We're not doing that. Remove player. Haha. Okay, that would have been awkward to have Pat come back to you. Oh, Brees Hall was taken at the 408.
Don't worry about listening. The headphones allow me to listen to everything.
Oh. Huh.
I heard you talking to yourself. I heard you talking about the off season, and I heard it all.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Well, all right, so are we ready to rumble?
I don't have the microphone to do that properly. It comes up instead of down. I wouldn't feel right.
Okay, whatever. So here we go. Resume. Patrick, you are on the clock to pick for Alex. Okay. Brees Hall, number 1. Makes sense. So far, the draft is going. There's the first thing that's going to be different.
We have our moment here. We have a pause.
Yes.
Or do you want to wait until your pick at 2-1 and we'll just analyze the whole first round?
We'll just analyze the whole first round.
Well, then I guess I'll have to go ahead and pick here.
Yes, you do.
Well, then. I'm going to do that.
I like it.
So let's do the unfortunate thing and give people an insight into the fact that they know what I'm going to pick and they're ahead of me. So
correct.
Let's play some games here.
That's the problem with
That's
us.
the fun part of being. It's also why it's a $5 league. Here we go.
Right.
We have them listed as numbers, which is inconvenient because I don't remember any of them, but that's okay.
What the people picking?
I don't remember any of them. But we do have their teams at the bottom. Is that not correct?
That is their teams at the bottom, yes.
Awesome. So let's take a look right off the bat. 1-2, Drake London. What are your thoughts?
Drake London is the wide receiver 1 of this rookie class because of the fact that he has immediate impact with the team that he went to, with Atlanta desperately needing a wide receiver because of Calvin Ridley being suspended. Do I like the quarterback situation there? No. Is he going to get targets? Yes.
All that considered, though, what we also want to consider in this draft is the team itself.
Mm-hmm.
The computer will pick best available. Awesome. We know what sleeper it sometimes ventures off and tries to do the right thing. But if we can drop down this little screen right here, which we can do with those arrows on the far right side, we can get rid of the draft upcoming players. Far right side. There we go. We can take a look at his whole team.
Oh.
And when we look at that team, what are they missing?
Running back.
Running back. So if obviously you watched RB1 go off the board. RB1's going off the board. That's always going to happen. That's 1-1. So if you're sitting in this situation, are you going to take wide receiver 1, which is a possibility, or are we possibly looking at a very shallow running back draft class?
Me
I know it sounds
personally,
weird to say.
I'm
I
still
know it
taking
sounds weird
Drake
to
London.
say. So if I'm sitting there with Antonio Gibson, who they just drafted his replacement, and I don't know what he's doing, and Josh Jacobs, who sounds like an awesome starter, but literally never gets any fantasy points, and they just drafted his replacement, I think I'm taking a running back there. I don't think I'm letting Walker drop to 3. I don't think I'm letting that happen. Rashad Penny is always injured. Chris Carson has retired. Walker is the future of Seattle. I don't think there's any other way to say that in terms of context of a situation. You can start Deebo Samuel, Jerry Jeudy, and Darnell Mooney as your 1, 2, 3 wide receivers. And then you can stare at your flex all night long. But you also have to realize that that position hasn't traded a single pick the entire time. So they're going to have their full arraignment of second pick in every single round.
Except for the 7th round.
Okay, if that comes down to that, we're going to have big problems. I just don't see the opportunity there in future rounds where you can truly pass up Walker for Drake London. Calvin Ridley's going to be back next year. By the time Calvin Ridley's back, Desmond Ridder is going to be the starter. By the time Desmond Ridder is the starter, Kyle Pitts is going to be a solid tight end. And by the time all that happens, they may have a running back also. Drake London on paper is the wide receiver 1 of this draft class, and that's awesome. But when you don't have a running back, how can you not take a running back? Josh Jacobs is not a sure thing. He's the running back 1. I get it. Antonio Gibson is not a sure thing. He's the running back 1. I get it. But Walker also not a sure thing. But Rashad Penny will be hurt by the second week of the season, and then on their staff they have no one and Drew Lock.
I get it, but I will show you now why I would be okay with taking.
See, you knowing who you're picking in that spot doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to get a run of 7 wide receivers in a row also.
No, but it makes sense that they went. But if you look at how the draft board fell right now, at the 202, this guy right down here, I'm not taking him here. I'm taking Tony Pollard with this pick. So if I'm team number 2 and I go wide receiver in the first, I'm hoping Ramondre Stevenson falls to me in the second round. And he should. Because I think Ramondre Stevenson is going to have a great year in New England, and I think he's going to be the future of the New England backfield. I don't think that they want Damian Harris being the guy anymore.
Here's my question. Do you think everyone else feels that way?
No, maybe. I don't know. But to me,
do you think Tua goes 4?
Maybe.
I don't.
With my brother's team, no. With my
you don't think he takes Tua?
No, because he has Deshaun Watson and
No, he's not 4. He's
No, he's the one picking at 4 though. See how it says
is
CFG
he?
Fireman?
Oh yeah. So Tua's not going at 4. Yank that one off the board. It ain't happening.
But he will go at some point in the first round.
No, he will not. No.
Someone might take him. Whoever's teammate might take him.
No, stop it. No.
Whoever's that teammate might. Rory might take him.
Rory's not taking Tua.
He didn't
in the first round.
He didn't choose Tua to keep him.
Yeah, he dropped him, so he's not going to re-pick him.
No.
So Tua's not going. That's one more player off the board. What player is that going to be? We don't know, and that's fair. But that's also going to change the rest of the board as it falls. So Tua's not coming off at 4. I don't think you can put all of your eggs, and even if you did, if you took Walker first and then took a second running back and Stevenson on the way around, you're still not hurting yourself in this type of league when your running backs currently are Gibson and Jacobs. So I don't think running back hurts the paper, and now you're going Sky Moore. You still haven't taken a goddamn running back.
Why is it not pausing?
It did pause at 2-7. Oh, we have to go back a little bit,
Yeah, because it took forever for the pause to kick in.
which is fair. Because
you know the 203, correct?
Yeah, I do have the 203.
Yeah, no. So the
I have 2-3 and 2-7.
so the thing with Sleeper is, Sleeper will take sometimes BPA, but if we were to reset this and do it again, it will not. The board would not be exactly the same as it is right now. So it does, but it doesn't.
I think if you took Tony Pollard off of your pick, Tony Pollard goes next. But as soon as you take Tony Pollard, it's going to go to Sky Moore. And I think that's not a terrible association with the way it views it. I don't think it's going to go reach for Stevenson. Again, you have to realize that the news about James White retiring just came out 7 hours ago. So that's not something that the algorithms that go into mock drafting have probably come into account with yet. Is that a huge difference for Ramondre Stevenson's value? Probably not, but it does indicate that they're going to do more early round work, that someone is going to get thrown the football, and they don't know which running back on the Patriots that will be. But I'm sure it affects Stevenson's value down the line. I'm sure if you do this mock draft in a week, you're going to get a different value for Stevenson than you're getting right now.
Right.
So the fact that Team 2 still hasn't taken a running back, I think speaks a lot to the fact that Team 2 needs to take a running back in the first round. Because once you get past that, it's a lot of crapshoot. You don't know what Damian Harris is going to be. Yeah, we can all say we think that Stevenson's going to be the lead back, and we do. We do. I agree wholeheartedly. It's why I have both of them in the leagues where I have them. It's to hold one as the handcuff because one of them is going to get moved or dropped. It's just going to happen. But Stevenson spent most of the first year on the shit list and then earned his way off of that. And that needs to speak a lot to the Patriots kind of mentality when it comes to bringing up players, is you have to earn your way into that lineup. And Stevenson clearly earned his way into the lineup. Damian Harris was kind of there by association. And I think that will speak volumes going down the line. If we were picking right now with what's in front of us, and it was my pick, you can go ahead and you can assign Dameon Pierce to that pick right there for me, please. And I will explain why before we do that, because I think the draft will just go ahead and just speed forward to something, because that's just the way I think it works. Nope, it will stay paused. Awesome. Perfect.
Yeah, it's going to stay paused. I'm going to hit resume. I'm going to try to get the pause to do it a lot sooner than it did it, but...
Well, I think if you hit resume and pause, I think we'll almost pause right at 2-7, which is where we're supposed to be. That was fantastic. You deserve a medal for that. You've done great.
Wait, it actually did it? Wow.
It paused exactly at 2-7. Let's take a look at what just happened right there. Watson, Pickens, Spiller. I think that's accurate. I don't think that changes at all. Based off of value, based off of what the teams have. I think obviously we'll review that at a different time later on in this draft board. But I do think Watson, Pickens, Spiller is an accurate representation of what you would expect there. So I don't think that's completely off the board. I did take Pierce for one reason and one reason only, because I really want to have every Houston player I can on my team. I think it's going to be great for fantasy. Gun here somewhere for me to shoot myself in the head after taking Brandon Cooks in the first round and not remembering that? No. Anyway, so I do think Pierce gets a volume uptick. I don't think any of the current running backs, what are they? Marlon Mack and that dude that used to play on the Patriots. Help.
Rex Burkhead?
Rex Burkhead. That's
Sexy
their two
Rex.
running backs right now, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think that's their 1-2, and I think Pierce will supplant both of them.
Is David Johnson still there?
No, I don't think so. I don't think that's a thing anymore. Depth chart. Where am I? Marlon Mack, Rex Burkhead, David Pierce. No. David Johnson is not there. I don't know where David Johnson is. Cheers to him. You did great for me that one year, and then you were awesome for me that one year. I traded a 5th-round pick for you, and they got injured in the 3rd week, and everyone still hated me because I traded a 5th-round pick for you in a keeper league where we only kept 3 people. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
I think that was the start of our other dynasty league, wasn't it?
It was. You and Fusco made that trade.
Yep. So anyway, I think Pierce has a solid volume ability, and I think that comes in very handy. So if we are staring at this board in front of us,
I think you have to go Davis Mills to keep going with your Houston theme.
if this is I just dropped Davis Mills. I can't do that. Out of just respect for myself, I can't do that. If this is the way the board shakes out, and I would like to first point out that either the Superflex option is not selected for this auto draft, or someone's on drugs.
No, it is.
There's still a team with only one quarterback, isn't there? There's no way Sleeper thinks that a team should be going forward with only one quarterback.
That would be Rory, and he hasn't picked yet in the 2nd round. Oh, no, there's a couple teams that only have one quarterback.
That seems fair. So no, there's not. No, Jalen Hurts, yeah, there is.
Trevor Lawrence.
Okay.
Justin Hurt, no. Stafford, Lance.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts, yeah, okay. So 3, 4.
There's 5.
Who's 3? Is there any teams that have moved around that have picked because of that though?
Ricky.
Three is Ricky.
Took Tom Brady.
3 is Ricky's got Tom Brady.
Yes.
So that means that Berman still doesn't have a quarterback, but Berman hasn't picked yet, has he?
No, because he traded away all of his picks.
Yeah, so Berman picks at the end of this round. So Berman's pick will be, I would have to assume that if Sleeper is staying true to what it does, the next pick and the last pick of this draft round will also be a quarterback. If I had to, I would imagine that if they were doing it. So I guess actually I'm not as turned off by the draft board currently as I thought I was going to be. Because the fact that there's still Jameis Winston sitting on the block is a little silly to me. I think he's going to have a very solid year. And Matt Ryan, I think, gets an uptick moving to Indianapolis with a solid offensive line, a running game, and the ability to throw the ball to people who can catch and don't bet on the other team to win. Anyway, so moving on from that. So if you look at what's available right now, and you look at the team that I have, we have added a little bit of substance from some volume players in Houston. And that's what it is. They're volume plays. Brandon Cooks is a volume play. Davis Mills loves to throw him the ball. If he stays on the field, he's a great wide receiver still. It's a volume play. I do think at the end of the day, Pierce is the only running back that makes a move in Houston. I think that's a volume play. If you're looking at what else does Patrick need, Patrick needs a goddamn wide receiver that's not Brandon Cooks, because you just don't know. You just don't know. And then you look at the draft board you have in front of you and you go, never mind, he doesn't need that. Because there's just none available. If you filter 2 wide receivers, you have Jonah Dobson, Chase Claypool, Tyler Lockett, Michael Gallup. What is this list that I'm looking at? It's a list of people who could be picked in 3 rounds. Tyler Lockett was great volume when Russell Wilson was throwing him the ball. Drew Lock's not that guy. And no matter what Pete Carroll does, Drew Lock will not be that guy. So you're pretty much throwing that away. So what are you looking at? Well, then you got to go back and you got to look at where's your running back situation sitting at. And it's a very interesting question to ask.
This for me, if I'm in your spot, it's an easy pick for me.
This is if you're looking at Ramondre Stevenson once again, who's still sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go with the assertion that he will not be there.
Okay.
That's what I'm going to do. The unfortunate part of this is that I think a player that is currently taken is going to take his spot. and then will be available again. So I'm going to pick based off of what I see on the board in front of me. Not going to pick Ramondre Stevenson. I don't think he'll be there. I just don't know which player. I think there's two that could drop back to the board if that happens. I'm not sure which one of them it is. I would honestly take either one of them. And if we're going to be honest, I'll say it here. I think the two players that could drop are Moore or Pickens. I think those are the two players that take the place of Ramondre Stevenson. Because I think Ramondre Stevenson is drafted. And I think either Moore or Pickens. And I would just like to point out that the same player took both Moore and Pickens, still has not taken a goddamn running back, which makes no sense, which is why I think he will take a running back at some point, and one of those wide receivers will then drop. Do you really think O'Shizzle takes 3 wide receivers to start his draft?
Depends on his policy. Also, he's mad at you.
Why? What did I do now?
He offers you the 202 and the 205, but you never responded to his DM.
He never sent me that.
Did you check your DMs?
Yes. Oh, please. For 1-1?
I think so.
I got nothing.
I don't know. Anyway,
I got
Pat,
nothing.
who are you picking?
Well, now I'm angry because I would have taken that.
I know you would have. Pat, who are you picking?
I would have taken that. There's no way he sent me that. There's no way he sent me that.
I don't know what to tell you. Pat, make a pick.
I don't want to do that anymore. Now I want to know why I didn't see this.
Pat, make a pick.
Well, I guess now I have to. I won't do that now. I will delay longer because I like doing that. I'm here for the dramatic pause. Let's play a game, Tim. You're sitting here. You see my team. Let's switch picks for a minute. You pick a player for me. I pick a player for you.
Then I'm picking Ramondre Stevenson
right now. You really think he's going to be there?
No, but based on the board, he's the pick.
I want you to be honest that he's not going to be there.
Okay, then make a pick based on the board then.
Oh, now you want me to pick based off the board? Well then, if that's what I have to do.
I'm going to give you Tim Tebow. He's still in the league. I'm going to put him on your team.
Give me Cordarrelle Patterson.
Okay. Cordarrelle Patterson has been selected. Now we shouldn't have to pause anymore until... No, we shouldn't have to pause anymore. Because we're just going to let it ride at 407 or 408. I'm just going to auto-pick there for you when it gets to it.
You pick at 310.
No, what I mean is we don't have to pause it anymore. Hey, look, a quarterback.
And still Berman didn't take one.
No, it's funny. You're ahead of me on this somehow. Oh, there went Ramondre. It would have been kind of funny if you fell to me somehow. Oh, yay. My turn now. So, I look at my squad. I got the RB that I wanted to fall to me and Tony Pollard, because Tony Pollard's going to be a little slot receiver. So a little bit slot shaming. No slot shaming here, guys. So what I am weak at is quarterback. However, I'm not taking a quarterback here. I have plans for a quarterback. I'm not taking a quarterback here. I'm comfy with Wilson and Rodgers, even though that's not the best. Now it's just to bolster my bench. So you go over to the flex tab and take a look at the flex. There's a whole lot of tight ends. I don't want a tight end right now because I think it's silly to take a tight end this early. So based off of that, there's not a lot of good stuff here. There really isn't. It's a lot of poop. Right, Pat? A lot of poop. So this is where I am going to start my first reach, I guess, quote unquote, of this. And that would be Mr. Brian Robinson. Boom. Nailed it. Thoughts, Patrick?
I get it.
I think he's going to take over. And here I go again. I pick 3
I
picks
think I
after
think
that
he,
too.
I think you've always had a hard on for Washington running backs,
I do like Brian Robinson.
and I don't get it. I don't get it.
I think he's good.
I think Washington's a dumpster fire. I think they make terrible play calls. I don't think they've ever had a successful season. And if they have any sort of success whatsoever, it will be based off their defense. Then Carson Wentz is a trash bag. He has never led anyone to success. At least when he's there, his running backs do sometimes have success, but Antonio Gibson is still going to get the first crack at this. Carson Wentz will be traded away by the end of the year, and this is going to be a big waste of your time. And I'm glad I got my opinion. Continue on.
Okay. So now I have another pick.
You never
picks later.
sent me a DM. Anywho, continue.
So, okay. So I took 2 running backs to start. So now is when I should probably look for a wide receiver. Again, a lot of poop, but I'm going to take a guy with good upside who should be get playing time right from the start based off the team's injuries right now. Michael Gallup's hurt, so I'll go ahead and grab Jalen Tolbert. I know I already have CeeDee Lamb, but I do think that the Cowboys offense can support 2 wide receivers. And I think they will support 2 wide receivers. So
I don't pick here.
What?
I don't pick here.
No, I know. So let's CP auto pick.
I do think Tolbert is a good pick. I do believe Tolbert is off the board before we get there.
He should be, but if we're going just based off of what's on the board, then we do that. Pat, if you could try to keep it under, I don't know, a half hour for this pick, that'd be great.
Like, you gave me a half hour.
Okay.
I didn't set the clock. Who set the clock? Who set the clock?
I set the clock.
And what did we learn from that?
That you suck.
We set the clock at 30 seconds. That's what we learned from that, and that's why we don't do all this time. On a more serious note, it's late in the draft. What are you doing? You're building value. You're looking for literally anything at this point. And guess where I am? Right there. That's where I am. That's how we build value.
Who'd you take?
Jameis Winston. Why is he still there?
Oh, okay. Hey, it's my turn again.
Why is he still there?
So this is my this pick I have, but then I'm out the entire 6th round. Then I have 3 picks in the 7th round. So if I think there's a player here that won't fall to me in the 7th round, this is where I should go ahead and grab said player. However, I have no idea who the hell's going to fall to me and where. So this is where when I've been doing these mocks, I've been going ahead and reaching for someone who I kind of gave a little shit on before because he was hurt all last year, but I'm going to take Julio Jones. Russell Gage got hurt in training camp. I don't know how hurt he is. Chris Godwin's not going to start the year. He's practicing, but I don't think they rush him back that early. So Julio Jones could give you upside at the beginning of the season, which is good for your team because then I'm going to capitalize on that. And in the 5th round, I'll take that upside for the first couple weeks of the year. So now, it's not going to fall to me in the 7th round. I know that.
Let me slot this out to you. With what you have already, you got to think you got a starting lineup. You have a couple of extra people in your back end there.
Mm-hmm.
We both know that at some point you want to take a quarterback.
I do eventually.
It's a super flex league. So this is my question to you. Do you think that they're going to fall?
Yes.
That's the anticipation is that the quarterbacks fall to the 7th round.
I think so because it's viewed as a dynasty draft, people are going to try to get all their position players done, and then the 7th round is essentially going to be treated as a defense kicker round in a normal draft.
Dart throw.
It's a dart throw at this point. I won't know until it happens. If I'm watching during the draft and quarterbacks start going left and right, then I will adjust.
Listen, if we look at this draft board right now and we see 4 quarterbacks taken in a super flex dynasty league, I just don't see that 5 quarterbacks taken. I don't see that as a sustainable model to view in this type of league. I don't think you can do that. I think there's people with 2 quarterbacks that they're on the fence about one about that are going to grab one. I think there's people with 2 quarterbacks who are going to avoid quarterback completely, and that's understandable. I think everyone without a second quarterback is going to attempt to grab one. Maybe with the exception of Berman, we know how he plays. He plays for top fantasy points that's week. That's what he's going for. If he thinks a position player is better, he's going to run the position player out there, and that's not a problem. That's fine. That's what it is. He won the league. respect it. That's what he did. So who the hell are we to say anything about what he did? Do whatever the fuck he wants. But you have to think that most people are going to try to grab a quarterback in a super flex league like this. If they're on the fence, if their second quarterback is Daniel Jones, if their only quarterback is Trevor Lawrence. I mean, if your only quarterback is Trevor Lawrence, maybe you're trying to grab two quarterbacks. Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes, you're keeping that. That's fine. That's set. Maybe you grab one in the 7th round, as we've been discussing, grab a rookie, see what happens in that thing, because maybe Russell Wilson doesn't have 36 years left in him. But honestly, this quarterback draft class is not that high as far as rookies are concerned, so you can probably let that go. Kyler Murray, Mac Jones. Mac Jones is a good quarterback. Is he a good fantasy quarterback? Kirk Cousins, Justin Herbert. Again, Kirk Cousins, decent fantasy quarterback. Opposite side of Mac Jones, he's a decent fantasy quarterback. But how long is that train lasting for? All you got is Dak Prescott, Matt Stafford, Trey Lance. That's a solid combination. But Matt Stafford's running the candle at both ends right now. I just feel like there has to be more substance in this draft than what we're looking at on this draft board, is all I would say. When you put real people in the hot seat of a super flex dynasty league, I think there's got to be more movement on the terms of conforming to the league itself.
I agree with you, but I think that would be more so less for next year when you have projected 3 to 4 quarterbacks being taken in the first round of the NFL draft. You didn't have the big name quarterbacks coming out in this draft, and I think that's another reason why it's not, and they're not ranked higher. Kenny Pickett was the best rookie quarterback out of this draft, and he's probably not going to start until week 6. Desmond Ridder, not going to start, I don't think, at all this year, until maybe towards the end of the year when the Falcons are mathematically eliminated. So that might be week 2. Who knows?
I think Ritter's in earlier than that, to be honest. But I thought Desmond Ridder was the best quarterback coming out of college last year. So,
but you understand. But next year, when
don't
you
hold
got,
me to that. Here we are.
Yeah. So you have better quarterbacks coming out next year. I think it'll dictate better for next year. What you're saying.
That's fine, but you still got Matt Ryan sitting on the bench.
Right.
Ryan's on waivers.
I think once the draft board starts settling and people start seeing position players going, they're going to keep pushing the position players out. And like I said, I think the quarterbacks are going to start to go in our draft in the 6th and 7th rounds. I truly do believe. I truly think the last 2 rounds are going to be treated as defense special teams, but with a quarterback position.
I don't think a quarterback counts the same as a defense special teams position when it's a super flex league.
I don't think it does either, but I think the people are still trying to value their position players.
I think people look at the draft board. To say it nicely, I think people look at rankings on the board directly in front of you and they overvalue what they're looking at. And I think that will skew some of the picks because all the quarterbacks are listed at the top of your draft board. They're all there. So I do think that will affect life just a little bit. It'll be interesting to see what it does. It would be my opinion of it. I think there's going to be more coming from what you see than what's on this board. If we're sitting here right now and we're coming to the end of our draft, oh boy, what a moment for everyone. Let's take a look at a couple of things before we move forward. Running backs are done. They are tapped out. There is nothing in the running back pool. Nothing. We still have 2 rounds to draft, and there is nothing in the running back pool. So you got to know people are going after running backs, and I think that's going to happen in real life. Also, running back is a shallower position than almost every other one, except maybe quarterback. But running backs, you're going to put more in your lineup because you're only going to have 2 running backs and a flex player. So 3 versus 2, and even that super flex, you're sometimes running that extra running back in there. So running back's done. If you looked at running back right now and went, I'm going to go reach for someone, you should go, no, just wait because they're done. Wide receiver. Done. Maybe Thornton, maybe Nico Collins, maybe, but overall, done. So if you look at the draft board, if this is the way it breaks down, that's why you're going to get those quarterbacks at the end because everything else is done. So obviously the quarterbacks are going to come off the board hot and heavy. But I just don't think the quarterbacks are going to last this long. I think they're going to come off before this. I don't think it makes any sense to leave them sitting around in a league where they're valued at a much higher note, being a Superflex league. Sitting at where we're at right now, there you go.
I like Trey McBride a lot.
I'd like to point out we still have no quarterbacks. Kyron Williams came off the board before a quarterback did.
And I'd like to point out at the 608, that's a name that's flying up boards currently.
Yes, and that's because the running back situation in Kansas City is a shit show.
Right, and I've been hearing very good things about Pacheco. I considered Pacheco when I took Julio Jones, but again, I'd rather go for the floor with Julio that I think I'll have at the beginning of the year. In case I get an injury or something like that, I'd rather have that.
Again, and that's always things to look at. Trey Sermon.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, if we break down that team, their quarterbacks are Matt Stafford and Trey Lance. What? You cannot possibly tell me that Malik Willis, Desmond Ridder didn't jump off the page at that point for someone that should be on that team over Trey Sermon? Looking down, honestly, I thought Pacheco would make it to this pick right here. That was going to be a thing we pointed out. But here we are, where that went 2 picks ahead of time. And that's what's fun about doing mock drafts. You start to see where the computer starts to rank people. Real life is going to probably move them up a little bit. Real life is going to move some of these players that had high projections but aren't going to really live up to that hype down a little bit. Chuba Hubbard does not go at 5'5". Sorry, dude, you're not going at 5'5". So I'm going to do the fun thing. And I'm going to take back. I'm going to take him back. Because I feel bad for letting him go. So I'm going to take him back.
Oh, gross.
He had to come back. I let him go. He came back. That's it. That's what true love is. You let them go and then they come back. So.
And here you go, Pat. You can go ahead and take Matt Ryan.
Oof. I'm going to do what I think is right. And the only thing at this point that is right is to put our faith in us and then drop him to the IR later on and open up another spot on my left.
Hey, Tim Patrick. Okay, so, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take Matt Ryan. For obvious reasons.
There's Malik Willis. There's Desmond Ridder.
And now we're to me. And one quarterback I was eyeing in the later round would be Baker Mayfield or Marcus Mariota. Mariota for early in the year for the rushing upside that he brings to the table. And Baker Mayfield, he's got good weapons in Carolina, so he might not be a terrible option in a Superflex league. I think he definitely should be rostered at some point by a team in a Superflex league. But I don't need a fourth quarterback. So dart throws now when you get down to this late for your team, or if you really need to, a handcuff, which I need because I don't need in this league. I don't have James Conner, but if I'm the James Conner owner in this league, I'd be looking at an Eno Benjamin here just so I have them on my roster. Wide receivers, dart throw, which is what I'm going to take, is Romeo Doubs. Hearing good things about him out of Green Bay. Rodgers loves him apparently. So yeah, that's who I'd be taking. I only have one tight end on my roster. It is.
I was gonna just say I would be taking Hunter Henry if I was you.
Well, I was getting there. I have Darren Waller on the team, so that's not who I'm going with here.
You back to back here, right?
Yeah, I just took Romeo.
Yeah, you back to back.
So now instead of picking Hunter Henry, I'm gonna go ahead and take the potential upside of David Njoku, because David Njoku is going to be playing with Deshaun Watson, who actually really targets the tight end. If he's only suspended for the 6 games.
In 3 years. See you later.
If he's only suspended for the 6 games, David Njoku will get targeted.
Well, so here's my question.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to know the answer to that.
No, we're not. That's why I'm taking him.
We're not going to know the answer to that.
The 7-11. On a team that already has Darren Waller. I don't need.
Just like the applications to be a masseuse, it's always open.
Yeah, well. So I like Njoku. So yeah, it doesn't set your team correctly when you do this, but my starting lineup wouldn't change. The only thing that would change is I'd sub out Zach Wilson for Matt Ryan in my Superflex. But other than that, I'm starting everyone that I said before. Maybe I'd entertain Tony Pollard over Elijah Moore, because Elijah Moore's got a tough matchup against Baltimore week 1. But it's pretty much the same starting lineup, and I just filled out my bench. I'm assuming you, on the other hand, would have Brandon Cooks directly inserted to your starting lineup week in and week out.
Brandon Cooks will move in based off of what the contract talks are looking like for Kareem Hunt and how that situation is feeling. There may be a change at running back also. It's going to be interesting to see how that breaks out in the beginning. It's going to be interesting how a lot of things break out in the beginning of the season. Always is. We still have a lot of preseason to go, a lot of injuries that haven't happened yet, a lot of freak accident, ACL, MCL, Achilles injuries that are going to happen. They're going to happen. And everyone should be prepared for that. It's fact of life. Just is. So we just went through that. I'm assuming you looked through everything before we did that. Who was your biggest non-keeper surprise?
See, Brandon Cooks sticks out to me, but I don't know what team he was on.
He was the first person on my list.
He should have been kept.
And he did. You saw where I picked him. So obviously he's not flying off the draft board either. But he was most definitely my number 1 player that was not kept was Brandon Cooks. It was a little surprising. I agree with you. I don't know what team he was on. I can't even try to lie to you. I could probably go through this and see who dropped him. If anyone dropped him yet, or if he was.
No, I think he hasn't been dropped yet because he's on Rory's team.
So he's on Rory's team.
Yes, Brandon Cooks is on Rory's team. Brandon Cooks has not been kept because Rory he kept Brandon Ayuk, Marquise Brown, Terry McLaurin, and Devonta Smith over Brandon Cooks. I would have kept Brandon Cooks over Brandon Ayuk in that scenario.
I would have kept Brandon Cooks over maybe everyone but McLaurin.
I wouldn't have kept Brandon Cooks over Marquise Brown. I like Marquise Brown.
I don't know Marquise Brown's going to be. I don't know what Marquise Brown's going to be. Plus, didn't he just get arrested? Not that matters much in the NFL.
It was for speeding, so I don't think
he wasn't drinking at the same time. Thank Lord. He didn't kill anyone. All right, fantastic.
Yeah, look at you.
We know who we're looking at. He knows. Don't worry. Henry Ruggs has nothing else to do but watch our podcast. So that sucks for him. We're available in prison. Congratulations. I get it, but I don't think I'm dropping Brandon Cooks in that lineup. I don't. I don't know.
I don't see the appeal to keeping Brandon Ayuk in a question mark offense run by Trey Lance.
I agree with that also.
I'm keeping Cooks over Ayuk any day of the week because Brandon Cooks year in year out's top 20 wide receiver.
I honestly think Brandon. I'll stick with it. I think I'm keeping Brandon Cooks over everyone but Terry McLaurin in that offense. Just the way it is for me. but that's
Cooks
okay.
is Cooks is
So
3. I'm keeping Devonta Smith over Brandon Cooks too, also, but
I
that's
don't
just
think I
because
am.
of the youth factor into it.
Uh, you can listen. Maybe you throw out a trade offer for Devonta Smith to try to gain some extra picks. Maybe you throw out a trade offer for Brandon Ayuk to try to gain some extra picks. I don't think I sit with that lineup and keep it the way it is and drop Brandon Cooks. Now, maybe he threw out some offers and no one responded. We don't know. We don't know their lives. Again, someone said they sent me an offer that I still have not seen. Don't have any DM. So, maybe that happened and there's a situation where he tried to make a move, it didn't happen, and here we are. So life can be what it is. It's the way it goes.
Mm-hmm. That's
Um,
just the way
we
it is.
we get it. It's just the way it is. But I think Brandon Cooks definitely stuck out for me as a player who was not kept. The other ones who stuck out for me were Ramondre Stevenson. I don't know which team he was on. I don't remember. Um, was he dropped or was he still on the lineup? He's just there for me. I don't see him dropped.
So that might have been a Rory then, also.
Is that also Rory? Was that
Rory's the
really
only
also?
one that didn't drop people yet.
No. Rory did not have Ramondre Stevenson.
Who had Ramondre? Ramondre wasn't a free agent, was he?
Was he? That would change this entire goddamn conversation.
I think he was a free agent at the end of the year.
Oh, that's interesting.
Well,
I
you know
get
what?
it.
Actually, hold, I can figure this out.
Does he have a list of?
No, you can go to the player and look at their history.
I'm saying, do they have a list?
Ramondre Stevenson. It would help if it wasn't going. Dropped waivers by Berman on June 23rd.
So that's after the season. So that Berman dropped him.
He dropped him
And if
before
we,
keepers were locked.
yeah, that's okay. Listen, everyone knew what dropping people were going to mean. It means you weren't keeping them. If we go through Berman's team, David Montgomery, Najee Harris, and then you have Travis Etienne, and Kadarius Toney.
I'm not keeping Kadarius Toney.
I'm sorry, I'm keeping Ramondre Stevenson
over
again.
Kadarius Toney.
I
ETN,
think
I
keeping
get it.
Ramondre Stevenson over Etienne. You don't know what that's gonna happen. You don't know what's gonna happen. You can't. I get it because you drafted him and you want to keep him. You want him to be that guy. You had James Robinson the entire season, and that was your move. But you don't. The dude hasn't played in a year, and when he played out of Clemson, he wasn't that guy either. So I think there's a lot of questionable decisions in there also. Again, he won the league. Who the fuck am I to question him? But I think he fits into that flex at some place. I get he's a Giants fan, so there's the Kadarius Toney keep, and he drafted Travis Etienne last year, so I get that because you want to be right. That's sometimes how fantasy works. You want to be right, Miles Sanders. You should have been a RB number 5, but you weren't because you suck. Sometimes you want to be right and you're not. Amari Cooper, Jamar Chase, DJ Moore, great keeps. You're not switching any of them out. So it was Kadarius, Toney, or Ramondre Stevenson. I think I can live with that. And I guess if that's what your options are, you have 3 running backs, 4 wide receivers, you get what you get in the draft. We saw how far Ramondre Stevenson fell in the draft. He can get him back if he wants him. So he's right for that.
Yep. All right, well, that'll just about do it for us. Next week, Pat and I will be back to discuss our rookie rankings like we did last year. It should be probably the same length as it was last year, maybe shorter, give or take. Who knows?
It would be shorter.
We'll
These
have
rookies suck.
We'll have updated rankings. Yes, it has not been the best rookie class, so we'll
There's no rookie quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
None.
So, all right, we will see you guys next week. Have a good one. Oh, I hit the wrong button.